Assalamu alaikum. It's good to be here. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm glad that Ramin went first because it's going to save me a lot of time because his numbers are pretty much my numbers as well. But first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Brad Loewen. I'm the Chief Safety Inspector for the Accord. And I've been in Bangladesh now for 2 years. And I was looking, I don't know when that picture was taken, I don't know if my hair has gotten any more gray. I think I maybe have some more gray hair from 2 years in Bangladesh dealing with remediation, but I'm still smiling, so it's still good. So I'll talk about the remediation that we're doing and try and keep it to that. We're doing many other things as well, and as Rabin sort of talked about with, complaints mechanisms and OSH committees and that sort of thing. But I think at least I'll start by focusing on remediation, and then if your questions go into other areas of our work, we can go there later. We have 1,600 factories for the Accord grants. We have 215, more or less, I think it's a little more actually, brands that have signed the Accord, and they're using 1,600 factories in Bangladesh. So it's more or less twice as many factories as Rabin was talking about, and so for almost all of his numbers, percentages are pretty much the same on how much work has been done and how much work has not been done, and for the ones that have a numerical value, you can just sort of double it if you talk about DEAs, number of DEAs and where they are in the process. We're very much in the same business, and we're dealing very much with the same group of factories, although you saw some of them overlap, most of them do not overlap. But it's from, RMG factories that are exporting and have orders from European brands, Western brands, North American brands. And so I don't think it's a big surprise that what we're seeing is very much the same thing. So again, if you look at the numbers of inspections, kind of just double it because we have twice as many factories. If you're looking at the number of factories that are completed their remediation, we have two have completed everything. And so we're very happy about that. And we have about 100 factories that we're keeping kind of a close eye on because they're very close to being finished. And so we expect in the next weeks some more that will be completely finished. And like I say, we start looking closely once we have reported that they're 90% finished. We only recognize it once they're 100% completed. So again, probably that's somewhat proportional to the numbers we're being talked about that are getting close to finish and so on. DEA numbers, like I said, what were some of my other, the review panel, again, I think probably there the proportion would be higher for the amount. I think we don't have even that many factories, never mind twice as many factories that went to the review panel. But the results are exactly the same as far as what the review panel finds in the factories, typically reducing loading, sometimes closing the factory, reducing the number of floors that are used, and then the remediation plan that they need to get a DEA and fix the factory. That's identical in every review panel case. And again, disappointingly, we don't always see action even in those most critical factories, so that's particularly disconcerting. Warning letters was another thing that we talked about, and there again, maybe similar. I think maybe we've been a little more, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, I think maybe we started some of that a little sooner, so our numbers might be slightly higher because we're very much pursuing the warnings to the factories. So, having said that, what are we finding in the remediation? by far the most things that get fixed are the electrical issues. Those are the easiest ones to fix for the most part. They're understood. They're not that expensive to fix. And so we see a lot of progress. If our overall progress in the Accord is at maybe 40% completion, at least half of that, if not 3/4 of that, is in electrical. So in electrical, we're well past half. We're at more like 75% completion. And then in fire, less so, and in structural, it has all those issues that were pointed out earlier about DEAs and back and forth, and making sure that we get those structures dealt with properly. And so, as disappointing as the overall numbers are, one thing that is very good is that by far the most fires in any industry in Bangladesh start from electrical reasons, and also, I think, particularly in the RMG industry, electrical is a big source of sort of the source of ignition for fires. And fire deaths, except for Rana Plaza, fire deaths is clearly the #1 killer in RMG sector in Bangladesh. And so we have reduced dramatically the numbers of fires in the factories. And I think the fire service would agree. They might not attribute it to the Accord's work, they would attribute it to their inspection programs. But regardless, the electrical installations in the factories is much cleaner, much more well thought out, and so fires are being prevented. Unfortunately, so the good thing is the chance of a fire incident is much lower. If we have a fire incident in our factories, unfortunately, most of them are still death traps. Be locked at the time of the fire, extremely scary sort of concern. Where do the exits lead when you get to the bottom? So there's lots of issues that sort of keep me awake at night, I'll say. These factories are not safe from a fire standpoint. And so that should be a big concern of all of ours, that structural is perhaps kind of a world of its own. It's being dealt with, and the structural engineers in Bangladesh are helping to come up with the remediation plans and dealing with that. But on this electrical and fire safety is something that we really need to see much more progress on. And again, you have all the suppliers in the building here now that are quite happy to help you with that. And so we're very much hoping to have more progress on that. Part of the issues with why are the buildings so far behind in remediation, and basically they are. In our case, it would be a very high percentage that are behind in the timelines. I think probably 90%. Part of it is the will of the factory owners to do the work. And that, just quickly to explain why I think it's the will, we do follow-up visits in the factory, and we're increasing our capacity to do that, to go more often, because we want to speed up remediation. But very often we'll go to the factory, and there's been no work done on safety remediation for 6 months. In the 2 weeks after our visit, they correct 10, 20, 30, 40% of the items on the list. And so why didn't they do it before? There was no reason other than they needed a push. And so that's disappointing as well, because we wish they would do it because they want to have a safe factory, not because we come and remind them that they need to do it. Then there was a big issue going back a year, and this is now the 3rd expo that has taken place like this. There was certainly an issue of the fire protection supply community in Bangladesh, the availability of suppliers for fire alarm systems, for sprinkler systems, for fire doors and the knowledge they need to actually be able to design those systems. That has come a long way, and so that's rarely the problem now. If we go to a factory and they've not ordered their fire doors, we're very strict with them. You have 1 week to order fire doors because there's no reason not to. I mean, the answers, we've received all the answers, all the problems we had, a year ago or 18 months ago have disappeared. It still takes time to get fire doors, and we allow for that. We have to acknowledge that. But there's no excuse now for saying, well, we don't understand fire doors, or we don't understand where to get fire doors. So that's also a part of moving forward. I'll just wrap up here quickly and give Maurice his time. So our role in all of this, I just sort of maybe backing up a little bit. So we're identifying the problems in the factories, and we're monitoring to see that they get fixed. But we're not fixing them. And the brands that have signed the accord have a commitment to help with fixing the factories and making sure that the factory owners, they cooperate in that process. But it very much depends on the factory owners. If they're not going to do anything, obviously, then the factory won't get fixed. They can't wait for someone else to come and do it. And so, when we get the feedback that, that more help is needed, we do everything we can. We have guidance. We have our website has guidebooks, and it has fact sheets, and we do everything we can to answer all of your questions. I have 60 engineers, soon to become 100 engineers, and we provide lots of support, very, very much support. But in the end, the factories need to take the initiative and look at the identified items and get them fixed. So